Welcome back to the Engage 8 podcast. Here with our co-hosts Nevan and Logan. Say what's up, guys. Been a little bit since last week, actually.
Yeah, what's going on, guys?
And then we have a new guest joining us today. Jax Wilson played on the football team this last season, won conference player defensive end, and also won tight end for the KLA conference in the Michigan High School Athletic Association, whatever bullcrap they spew on and however long their abbreviated name is. Jackson, say what's up to everyone.
What's going on? Happy to be on here.
Yeah, Jackson, he's got a couple of Division II offers, looking to get some D1 offers, isn't that right?
Yep. You're sending lots of film out, seeing what happens. It's a process. Recruiting is it's a lot to handle.
Yeah, we'll be seeing him at MSU, playing under Mel Tucker here in a couple of years, so it doesn't matter. Anyways, so today we're going to get started with our preview of the Week 11 games this weekend. There's been some couple MAC games that happened the last 2 days, and then there's a Tulsa and Memphis game going on tonight, and then I know there's a couple of games like East Carolina and Cincinnati tomorrow, but we don't care about those group of 5 conference games that have no ranked teams. We're here to talk about the big games. We're going to start off with Missouri and Tennessee. Tennessee coming off a loss to Georgia at Sanford Stadium, and Missouri just played a close game against Kentucky. And I looked at Missouri's schedule earlier. They've been kind of like the Iowa State of the SEC, not winning games necessarily, but they've been given a tough time to teams like Auburn. They lost in overtime, only a 4-point loss to Georgia, 7-point loss to Florida. Beat South Carolina and Vanderbilt, only a 4-point loss to Kentucky. So it looks like they're causing a little bit of havoc this year. They lost to Kansas State earlier in the year, 40-12. But I don't know. I think this Missouri team, I don't think they're good looking at their statistics, but they're definitely, I feel like they could still give this Tennessee a little bit of team a little bit of trouble in the first half. Anyone want to start with a strong take on either teams or the game?
Yeah, I'll get this one started.
All right.
I think that a key to beating Tennessee is being able to control the clock. And if you can control the clock and keep Tennessee's offense off the field, that you give yourself a way better chance of winning. And this Missouri team only averages 146 yards a game. And I do not think that averaging under 150 yards a game is a way to beat this Tennessee team. But I think that Missouri's defense is pretty good. So I think when Hendon Hooker and the other playmakers that the Volunteers have, I think when they're on the field that they could be shut down a little bit. But, yeah, I'm with you. No, I think Tennessee is just going to explode the second half. And I actually, hot take, I think they're going to cover the 20.5-point spread.
I don't know if they'll cover it, but it'll be really close to it, whether they do or don't. I think it's either.
I mean, that's what Vegas hopes for.
Yeah, I think it's like anywhere from 17 to 23. Logan or Jackson, you guys got anything to say about either team, or kind of like that maybe where Tennessee will end up at the end of the year or something, anything like that?
Sure, I'll go. Sorry, Jax. You want to go?
You're good. No, you can go. You go ahead.
All right. Well, I think Missouri's going to win this football game.
What?
No, I'm just kidding. This is Tennessee. Look, Jalen Hyatt, obviously one of the best receivers. Hendon Hooker. I still can't believe this offense got held to 6 points against Georgia. I know I wasn't on the show earlier in the week to talk about that, but I think that's ridiculous. Georgia's defense is just far above everybody else's, but obviously I don't think Missouri's bringing in Georgia's defense, so I don't think this is going to be particularly close. But I will say about Tennessee, this Tennessee offense has obviously been really good, one of the best in the entire nation, and it just did not look good against Georgia. So it'll be interesting to see how they bounce back. Pretty easy schedule the rest of the way. Expect Tennessee to be 11-1, and this will probably be their first win to get in there.
Jackson, your opinions on this game or either of these teams?
Yeah, I think definitely Tennessee's going to come out with this one, but just that Georgia defense. I mean, after having a couple games where they topped 500 yards, and Georgia holding them down, I don't think Missouri has the defensive skill, but You never know with these games. You never know what could happen. But if Tennessee comes out and plays how they can and how they done, prior to the Georgia game, I think they'll walk away with an easy win on this one.
The thing about this Missouri team, they like you said, Nevan, they only average 140 something yards or whatever.
26. Yep.
Right, and like even looking at their statistics, they're super inefficient with only averaging those yards per game. And like this Tennessee defense, no, it's not the greatest thing, but like it's definitely more than capable to shut down their run game. Missouri only averages 3.8 yards per carry on the year, which is pretty bad, and then also has only 7.1 yards per attempt on. I mean, not bad completion percentage, but Brady Cook, their starting quarterback, has 6 touchdowns and 7 interceptions. I don't like quarterbacks that throw more interceptions than touchdowns. And then, I mean, Tennessee's offense, I mean, other than the Georgia game, their offense has been really efficient this year. Running the ball, I mean, not the most efficient thing, 4.3 yards per carry, but they have 27 rushing touchdowns on the year. And then Hendon Hooker's been able to have a good touchdown interception ratio, having over 10 yards per completion and 71 completion percentage. So I think Tennessee, I think there's going to be a little bit of struggle in the first half. I feel like maybe they overlooked this Missouri team a little bit, having their heads down a little bit after the loss to Georgia. But I think in the second half, they'll start to get rolling and come away with a win here. Moving.
Yeah, I agree with you there.
Yeah, I don't think Missouri's going to be able to play a complete game against a pretty good Tennessee team after still taking a loss. All right, are we ready to move on to the next game?
Yeah, I'm good.
All right, we got LSU versus Arkansas. LSU having a big overtime win with Brian Kelly having a big boy call, going for 2 after Jaden Daniels scores the first touchdown in overtime. Anyone want to have their thoughts shared first?
Yeah, I'll go first.
All right.
I think for LSU, I mean, when your coach makes that call that Brian Kelly did to beat one of the best teams in the past decade, I feel like it's hard not to trust that guy after he does something like that. So I think LSU, first off, has probably had a great week of practice this week. And second off, I think that they're going to have more trust in their coach this week than ever. And then I also think that the only really problem that LSU could run into would be KJ Jefferson for Arkansas, their quarterback. He's got 17 touchdowns on the year and only 3 interceptions. So I think that could be like a small problem for LSU, but I think if they can shut him down, then they'll be in good shape because I feel like Arkansas's passing attack isn't as great as some of the other teams LSU's had to face.
Either of you two want to take the show, or do you want me to give my opinion first?
I'll go ahead, Jax.
I think I don't know, this LSU team, coming off of what they did last week, I think they're going to have a full head of steam. And Arkansas, I don't know. I mean, they're not a terrible team, but just the powerhouse that LSU is, and coming off of a game like that, it's almost like what we do here, winning our how we were coming off the next week after winning Powell. When you have that big win like that, you come back the next week with so much energy and so much power that it's going to be extremely hard for the Razorbacks to stop this. And losing that game to Liberty last week for Arkansas, it's weird. They're hungry too. They're coming back. They might put up a fight, but I feel like LSU is going to be pretty hard to stop.
Yeah, I mean, KJ Jefferson, there's been rumors that he might be out this week with an injury. He apparently was a little beat up from that Liberty game, so they might have Malik Hornsby coming to the game if that is the case, that KJ Jefferson doesn't play. Arkansas, I mean, this team's just not that good defensively. They've had a ton of injuries throughout the year with their defensive back crew having like pure freshmen and maybe even walk-ons touching the field at times. So it's really hard to game plan and have a good game script for the Razorbacks if you have players that keep coming out of the games and you have to put in new guys each week. I I don't know. This running game with Raheem Sanders, he averages 6.4 yards per carry. He's been a deadly running back. Arkansas is known for really keeping the ball on the ground. KJ Jefferson runs it a decent amount too. And then, I mean, the receivers, Jaden Hasselwood, who transferred from Oklahoma last year, and Matt Landers, they've been all right this season. Haven't really found the end zone too much, but they get receptions and get a decent amount of yards. For this LSU team, I mean, I don't know how you come off a game that you just played and then not go and want to perform great week after week after week. Because this team, I mean, they might be a team that gets 2 losses and gets in. If they win out, they play in the SEC championship. And if you beat Georgia, I think you're in the college football playoff at that point. I mean, they have good wins over Ole Miss and Bama, and their only loss is to Florida, or their losses are to Florida State, which was a week 1 game that was really tough for them. New head coach, new quarterback, new guys in everywhere. And then to Tennessee, which they just started off poorly that game. And I mean, Tennessee's still one of the top teams in the country. I think Jaden Daniels and his dual threat ability is going to give Arkansas trouble, especially with their pass coverage. He's going to be able to throw the ball deep. So that means linebackers are going to have to drop more into coverage. And then he's going to be able to take off and get 10 to 20 yards on gains out of scrambling. And Neighbors and Bude have been really good receiving threats for the Tigers. And what's his name on the defense? Perkins Jr. I mean, we saw his impact last game. So, Logan, you want to go finish us off with this game?
Yeah, I'll keep the game super short. I think LSU wins this game. I don't think Arkansas is going to put up too much of a fight. That 3.5 point spread, I think, is a little deceiving there. I think our LSU easily covers that. But I will talk about their college football playoff chances, which you kind of brushed on. A 2-loss LSU team would be really interesting because they do that loss against Tennessee too. So if you're kind of sitting there with an 11-1 Tennessee, 11-2 LSU SEC champions, be interesting to see how the committee kind of looks at those 2 teams. But obviously must win here for LSU. They have a chance to win the SEC West, I believe. Yes, the SEC West. Got to keep that game above Bama. So that'll be interesting to see here. LSU coming off the big win. I think they kind of smoke them here. But, yeah, I think this is one of the more interesting races to kind of watch down the stretch, see if LSU can be able to kind of push their way into this college football playoff discussion.
Right on. Speaking of Alabama, we have Alabama playing Ole Miss this week as well. Alabama on the flip side of things of not playing well, or not playing. It's not that they didn't play well, but losing to LSU. And then Ole Miss, who, I mean, they're still in the race. They kind of been like under the radar a little bit more, and people don't think they're as good as their record shows, and they haven't played necessarily the greatest opponents either. Anyone want to start with their take on this?
Yeah, I'll go first.
Okay.
I know the last time me and Logan were on here, I said a take that I thought I was pretty confident in, but it didn't age very well. That take being that Alabama doesn't lose a lot in a decade, let alone in one season. And they lost pretty recently since then. But I know this is going to sound like I'm saying this again, but I think this game for Alabama goes one of 2 ways. They either win this and try and scratch and claw their way back into like keeping themselves or putting themselves back in the college football playoff conversation, or this a loss here, I think, could turn tables and turn heads looking at Alabama a very different way. But Alabama's either got to bounce back and hopefully just rebound and get the season back going again, or if they lose here, I think that they'll be in for a rude awakening, because I think this Ole Miss team, I mean, they're not a bad team by any means, what I'm saying, but I think they're, I don't know, they're a little overhyped, I feel like. They beat a good Kentucky team earlier on in the season, but that was only by 3 points. And then they lost by 25 to this LSU team that we're talking about, or we just talked about. But, yeah, I think I don't really know where I stand yet, Alabama or Ole Miss, but I just know that whatever happens here, Alabama's season is going one way drastically.
I'd like to add in here, there's a reason why Ole Miss is 11 at 8-1. They just haven't really played anyone if you look at their schedule or have looked any good during the eye test. Jackson Dart, he's been kind of inconsistent. He has like one good game and then he'll kind of have a shaky game. I'll say Ole Miss's ground attack. Judkins and Evans have both been pretty good this year. Have 20 rushing touchdowns combined with over 1,700 yards as a running back duo. It's kind of like Haskins and Corum last year, with Judkins kind of being a little bit more of a power back and then Evans being a little bit more elusive and being good in space. I don't got much to say about this. I think this Alabama team, this is kind of a must-win game for the morale. And if they still want to somehow get into the college football playoff or get into the SEC championship, which is more impossible if LSU loses 2 games, which, I mean, they play Arkansas, Texas A&M, and then I forget the other team that LSU plays. But I just think the only problem with this Bama team is the receiver. It's not that typical Alabama receivers that is what they're used to. Logan or Jackson, any takes on either team?
Yeah,
I
Jax,
think.
go ahead.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I think so. Ole Miss definitely, like Noah said, they have not played someone yet, the caliber of Alabama, and I think that, with Alabama's loss, they're coming out angry. I mean, how Saban is as a coach. He's been, definitely working these guys this week, and they're going to be coming into this game, hungry. And but also, if Ole Miss gets this, win, it'll be the first time, Alabama's won or lost 2 games back to back in 9 years, and I think that would be pretty crazy to see. But I feel like in terms of in this game, I think Alabama's is gonna come in there and fight for it, and I almost feel like it might not be an extremely close game. I feel like Alabama is gonna be, not like crawling their way back. They're coming out explosive, and I think they're gonna take this Mississippi team down.
Finish us off, Logan.
Yeah, I very interesting loss to LSU. Nevan was actually sitting in my basement. We were watching this game, and we were both shocked when LSU decided to go for it. I actually criticized the decision. Obviously, it ended up working out for LSU. Tough loss for Alabama, pushes them out of the college football playoff discussion, in my opinion. I don't think there's really anything they can do to kind of put themselves back in with that loss to Tennessee, especially. But I'm actually kind of going to disagree here. I'm going to take Ole Miss in this one. I think, the saying, when it rains, it pours. I think it's about ready to pour in Alabama. And I think this is kind of the season where we see maybe a little bit of regression from Bama. I don't think the receivers are very good. I do agree with you in that aspect, Noah. Ole Miss has been actually pretty good, only allowing 222 yards through the air on the year, which obviously would be quite a bit less than Alabama normally gets, which is about 280. I do kind of disagree about the competition play too. They have won a lot of close games, but with the only loss being LSU, obviously LSU just beat Bama. I think they have been able to win some other games and kind of prove themselves. The win over Kentucky was a big win, and it was at home. I truly expect this whole home crowd for Ole Miss to be able to come in and make some noise and kind of make this thing interesting. I think this is an extremely close game, but I'm actually going to give the upper hand to Ole Miss here.
Definitely not a popular opinion. Kind of a off-topic thing, or kind of looking ahead into the future. You think if Alabama loses another game, do you think this is Nick Saban's last year?
Meaning they let him go, or Nick Saban
retires,
just is done?
I think I don't think they'd ever let Nick Saban go unless he went under 500.
No, I don't. I would expect Nick Saban to be back in coaching. I can't imagine Nick Saban up and quitting because of one down year, especially because, let's be honest, it's Alabama. They'll be back and reloaded next year. It's not like this is a downward spiral that's never gonna be able to fix itself. But no, I do think Nick Saban's back next
guys,
year.
We got to look at the Alabama depth chart and realize how many 4 and 5 stars he's got behind these guys.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah. So even though this year they don't have their standard 10 first-round picks, or 10 guys that are going to get drafted in the first 2 days on offense alone, they still have enough talent behind them that this is going to be reloaded pretty easily, I think.
Yeah,
sure.
I just think Alabama without Bryce Young this year. I feel like Bryce Young's kind of bailed them out of a lot of situations and put them in at a good record this year. I'm concerned what maybe they do next year if they have Milroe play or if they have another guy that's incoming freshman or like maybe redshirts his freshman year and plays. I
Let me
wonder
ask
what.
you, if Bryce Young doesn't play a snap this season, what do you think Bama's record is?
I have no idea. I don't know. I don't know because the game scripts for each week are way different without Bryce Young. So I think Alabama's running attack is still pretty good with Gibbs and McLennan, and they would be good with Milroe. But
I'd say 6-3.
yeah, I think they
I think the only game they'd lose if they didn't win would be Texas.
yeah, that's probably
Okay.
yeah. I agree with you there.
Yeah, I think you are right. I think Bryce Young's been able to keep them in a lot of games that they probably shouldn't have been in. I mean, that Tennessee game, to be completely honest with you, I don't even think they deserved to be in that. Bryce Young kind of had a absolutely spectacular game. Granted, so did Gibbs, but yeah, I think Bryce Young's been able to lead them to a lot of big time wins. And like you said, the receiving core just isn't the same as it normally is. Normally, it's popping with 5-star guys that are getting ready to go play in the NFL, and that's not really the case this year. So,
All right, moving
definitely
on.
one of the more beatable Bama teams.
Yes, I agree with that. Moving on to the little bit of group of 5 action. 2 top 25 teams according to the college football playoff rankings. We have Tulane versus UCF. Both teams I paid attention a little bit at UCF recently, but Tulane, honestly before this show, I did not watch a single game of them. I looked at a little bit of their highlights and a little bit of their film to see who's kind of like their main playmakers. Tajay Spears, he's used kind of like Jahmyr Gibbs in the Alabama offense, where I mean he's kind of runs it outside, doesn't do too much up the middle, and then they try to get him outside the numbers and throwing swing passes, little screens and stuff like that. I don't know what to say about this game. My opinion's not too strong. I also don't know if Plumlee or Keene is playing in this game. Keene's been the way better thrower this year, but Plumlee's dual threat ability has been a problem as he's tied for the rushing leader on the team. They kind of have a 3-headed monster in the backfield with Plumlee, Harvey, and Bowser. So it'll be interesting. Harvey's averaging 7.4 yards per carry right now, though, and that Cincinnati win that they had, he had the game-winning touchdown. So it'll be an interesting game. I'll probably tune into it. I believe it's at 3:30. Definitely going to be on my radar. Any takes from you guys?
Yeah. I think this could be a huge game for Tulane. They're riding a hot streak right now. They've only lost to Southern Miss. That was what, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 games ago. So they're on a 5-game win streak. And I think this will be a harder opponent for them. But are they home or away for this one?
UCF I believe is at home.
Oh,
Tulane's at
they're
home.
on the road.
Oh, no, Tulane's at home?
Yes, Tulane's at home.
Okay. Yep, they are.
All right. Yeah, then I think I got Tulane in this one still. I mean, I think this could be a win that like moves them up pretty high, maybe like 11, 10 maybe.
Yeah. I mean, they have a really quality win against Kansas State too. So, I believe, and they've kind of ran through their schedule other than Southern Miss, which, I mean, it's a fluke game, but Tulane after that game's been looking pretty good when I look at the box score and the scores of the game. So, Jackson, you got any opinions on this?
I think that Kansas State game against them really kind of opened my eyes on what Tulane was capable of. They're an under the radar team that before this, barely wins any games in the season, and I think that the way they're going, this game against UCF, this is going to be big. I think they have a pretty good chance at winning this, but UCF also has some weapons, and I think it's going to be a really, really, really close game. But I'm kind of rooting for Tulane in this one. I would hope that they can keep going because this is kind of a cool thing for the school. Everybody kind of overlooks this team, and they got some good people, and they've obviously been trying for a couple years to build up the program. They're finally getting something rolling here, so I'd like to see them keep going.
Yeah, I'm with the Bucks. I'm cheering for Tulane in this one.
Yeah, looking at the receiving leaders for Tulane, 5 guys have 20 receptions on the year. It's a very balanced it looks like it's very balanced in targets and who gets receptions and stuff. So it kind of like leaves, like there's no like one guy you have to key in on other than maybe Spears out of the backfield. Like it's kind of going to be a tough game for UCF because you don't know who's going to step up in this game. Bern, have you made your take about this game, or are you still waiting to go?
I will say this is actually a big game here. Winner sets themselves up to be the favorite for the New Year's Six Bowl. I like Tulane in this one. I like to roll the home field advantage here. I rolled it with Ole Miss. I'll roll it out again with Tulane. Tulane's been a really good team all year. Very interesting. Should be a good game. Possibly going to tune in to this one. But, yeah, I think Tulane wins this one. They should basically lock up the New Year's Six Bowl. UCF can make it very interesting with a win, though. I think particularly because all Cincinnati, UCF, and Tulane would all be 5-1 in the American, assuming Cincinnati can beat East Carolina this week. So this is going to be an interesting game to watch, and yeah, obviously going to be a close one. I do have Tulane.
East Carolina Cincinnati game is going to be good tomorrow night. East Carolina, they've been winning games and they've been playing in close games. I remember week 1 they gave NC State a big scare, who had Devin Leary starting at the time too. So I mean, don't doubt East Carolina. They could also make a run for their money and disrupting in the American. We're going to take a quick break here. We will be back with you shortly to finish our Week 11 preview. All right, welcome back to the second half of the show. Still got 3 games to go over. We have Washington and Oregon up next. Anyone want to start off with their takes on either team?
Sure, I'll start this one. I haven't started yet. I am absolutely in love with Oregon. I have him ranked as my number 4 team in the nation. I don't know. I love what Bo Nix has been able to do. I think losing pretty much at Georgia. The game was in Atlanta. At Georgia in week 1. It's your head coach's first year. I don't think that's that bad of a loss. And since then, they really have kind of steamrolled everybody in the Pac-12. 15-point win over UCLA, which I think Noah would agree with me. UCLA is a top 10 team in the nation.
UCLA is better than USC for anyone out there.
So there you go. So UCLA, probably a top 8 team in the nation. I am in love with this Oregon team. I don't think they lose here. To be honest with you, I don't think they lose here in the rest of the season. I will argue it till the end. A 12-1 Oregon team deserves to be in the college football playoff, but Bo Nix is spectacular. I don't think Washington's going to be able to stop them. At Oregon, that's going to make that game even harder. I mean, an Oregon offense that puts up 43 a game, I just don't see Washington being able to get enough stops down the stretch to be able to win this football game.
Nevan or Jackson?
Yeah, I'm with you there, Bern. I think Washington could stick around in the first quarter, maybe first half, but yeah, Oregon's going to open it up and just pour it on. I think this will be a win that people look back at and are like, that was a win that put them in contention for the CFP. But what Bo Nix has done has been great.
Yeah, no, I think Oregon's a great team, but I actually read up on something that it's such a big rivalry game. Oregon has played the Huskies fight song at practice for them. So they're coming into this one. I mean, it's a huge rivalry game, but I feel like for some reason here, I got a feeling that Washington might be able to pull an upset on them. And I don't know. I just have this feeling that, with how they've been playing for the past 3 games, I feel like, I don't know. They're going to be coming to Oregon, but I feel like I got a little faith in Washington this week, and I would like to see them, get an upset here. I think it's possible. I think it's possible.
Yeah, I'm kind of with you there, Jackson. This Washington team kind of like doesn't play to Oregon's defensive strength. Noah Sewell is like the leader on this Oregon team, and I'm pretty sure he got a touchdown against Colorado last week too. They put him in at fullback. But unrelated to that, I don't know how the hell this freaking Oregon team's gonna get pressure. Their leading sack leader has 2.5 sacks. They only have 15 total team sacks on the season. They do force a little bit of turnovers, but Michael Penix is not the one to turn the ball over. I feel like he's going to be able to hit Adunzi and McMillan and get them into playmaking space. And I feel like Oregon's got to kind of start out, and it's going to be a battle of two pretty good Pac-12 quarterbacks. If this Washington team's maybe 8-1 or whatever if they only have one loss, I feel like Penix would be higher on like Heisman radars. He's actually had a really good season. I know his stats look a little inflated because he has one of the most attempts in the country, but I mean still 8.3 yards per attempt, 3,200 yards on the season, and 23 touchdowns. Only taking 5 sacks on the year. That's a really good job. His running game's not too bad, but their passing game's crazy. I think if Oregon can honestly rush the ball with Irving and Winnington early on and kind of make this game longer, I feel like that's how they beat this Washington team. Bo Nix, I feel like he's going to come up with a great late game performance again, kind of like how he did in UCLA in that second half where he just absolutely took over and put that game away. I feel like he's going to have another one of those type of games for them not to lose to Washington.
Hey, all I got to say, Bo Nix is legit. Oregon is legit. Come back here when it's 42-17. Oregon is just going to pummel Washington. People are going to realize they're a better team than TCU. They're a better team than Tennessee. Put them in the college football playoff. Oregon blowout.
All right. Any final thoughts on this game?
It's a bold take, Logan. That is.
Yeah, that is a very. I don't know about better than. I see where you're coming from with better than TCU, but better than Tennessee.
I'm gonna say it.
Well, we will see on Saturday. How about that?
Those volunteers.
Maybe I'm still a little bit mad that Washington beat my Spartans, but you know what? We're putting that aside.
That's true, Bern. That's a tough one.
That
was a tough loss.
Like Sam said on Tuesday, that's the falling of Tuck. That's when Tuck fell. It wasn't coming anymore.
That's what Tuck fell. But you know what? We beat Illinois, so we're coming again. Tuck is coming. But so is Oregon. Bo Nix, 400-yard performance. Give me the Ducks.
We're going to have to get a Landing Coming shirt printed after they take the win against Washington. Speaking of TCU, as Logan says that Oregon should be ranked above them, we're going to be talking about this nighttime game between TCU and Texas. Texas, better. I feel like they're way better than their record shows. I think if Quinn Ewers this will be my take all year, if Quinn Ewers is healthy all year, this Texas team probably in the I'll say top 10. I won't say top 5, but I feel like they win that Bama game and they continue to roll on the success from there. Having 3 losses on the season, but when Ewers plays, it's a different story, as we saw with their win against Kansas State last year. I feel like Ewers' throwing ability makes it easier for Bijan Robinson to just go crazy in the run game. We saw that he had 166 yards at the end of the first half in that Kansas State game. And then Worthy and Jatavion Sanders, they're able to get going in the passing game too. And I feel like when everyone's healthy on this Texas team, they just get rolling. And honestly, their defense doesn't have to do too much after the first half, as we saw. Kansas State was trying to lead a comeback, and it still didn't matter because Texas was so much in the first half. As for TCU, Kendre Miller's been pretty good out of the backfield this year. Definitely replaced Zach Evans as he transferred out last year. Max Duggan's been a pretty good quarterback. Probably should honestly be in the Heisman conversation, having 9.9 yards per completion on 24 touchdowns and 2 interceptions. And then I don't know if Quentin Johnston's I heard that he's probably going to be able to play this week. He's been out the last couple of weeks, but I mean, Tay Barber and Darius Davis have been able to step up in their wins for West Virginia and Texas Tech. So I think this is going to be a really good nighttime matchup. Honestly, I'm going to take Texas here because they're my team, but I see TCU. If TCU can win, I think they're legit college football playoff team.
Yeah, I agree. This could be a win that TCU could like stamp that they're actually a legit team. But then, and with the other side of that coin, I also think this one is going to be why they are not a college football playoff team. I think Texas is going to put a close to their 9-0 and great season, and I think that Texas, I don't think will have a chance to make the college football playoff with 3 losses. But I think they're going to still play spoiler and ruin TCU's chances.
Logan or Jackson?
I agree with that, Nevan. I think that this Texas team, Quinn Ewers going in there, I mean, just his calmness in the pocket and his ability to hit those receivers, and his big tight end, because I love watching that, and I think that they're definitely gonna cause an upset on TCU and stop that 9-0 streak. I think they're gonna come out there strong, and TCU is, I mean, they're playing great, but Texas football, and Texas is the big one in Texas football. I mean, this is also kind of a rivalry game, so I'm thinking that Texas is going to go in there and show them up.
Logan?
I want to throw it back to week 6. I took the Kansas money line. TCU wins. Week 7, I take the Oklahoma State money line. TCU wins. And then in week 8, I took the Kansas State money line and TCU wins. I'm done betting against this team. Let's throw those horns down. I'm saying the Horned Frogs pull this one out. I don't know why Texas is favored. Well, I mean, I know why they're favored, but they shouldn't be. TCU is the better football team. They're better than Michigan. They're better than, not Oregon, but they're better than Tennessee. And this TCU team is going to prove it. And I will stand here when you all pick Texas, and I will stand by my TCU Horned Frogs.
Better than Michigan?
Did I just hear you say TCU's better than the Michigan Wolverines?
I'm with you on that, Logan.
You did.
Oh.
This TCU team, if you put them on a neutral field right now with Michigan, they would never.
They're taking those Wolverines. They're taking the Wolverines.
I feel like, okay, here's what.
If you put them on a neutral field with Michigan, Michigan wouldn't even let them come out of the tunnel. I don't think TCU has a chance to play.
We know how Michigan goes in the tunnel.
Michigan's going to lose by 45 to Ohio State. So they're not even going to get there. And TCU, because they beat Texas this week, they're going to throw those horns down. They're going to walk into the college football playoff 13-0, probably get absolutely murdered by Georgia, but that's okay because this TCU team is legit. I am calling it. They are not beating Texas. They're going to slow down Bijan Robinson. Their rushing yards allowed, only 150 on the year. I kind of like it. Bijan Robinson, I don't think gets as high as he normally does. TCU in a shootout, you just can't bet against them. You can't bet against them.
I think with the thing with this TCU team is what you could say about them being better than Michigan is they've had their conference all around and overall is way better than the Big Ten this year and the teams that Michigan's played. So I could see where you can make an argument for TCU being higher than Michigan. I'm not going to personally put them over there just because I feel like this game will kind of decide what I think of TCU. But regardless if they win or lose this game, I mean, having a first-year head coach in Sonny Dykes from SMU, having guys like Zach Evans transfer out, the fact that they can put in a 9-win team and probably be ranked in the top 10 to top 15 at the end of the year is a great accomplishment, and they'll be able to pull in recruits and be able to build off that for sure.
Yeah, honestly, I don't know. I just don't see TCU losing a football game until possibly the Big 12 championship. I think Baylor and Iowa State are fairly easy wins for TCU if they can get through Texas here.
I wouldn't say Baylor. Baylor's been pretty good. But
I don't know. I think TCU wins this football game. I think everyone's kind of leaning Texas. Everyone's shading them. Vegas is favoring them. You three are all favoring them. TCU just finds a way to keep pulling out wins. And until they prove that they cannot win, I'm going to keep taking them. Their end-of-game management has been spectacular. Their coaching up and down has been spectacular. And, frankly, you can't really make the argument like you're making with a team like Clemson because I think Kansas State, Kansas, and Oklahoma State are three legit teams. Maybe Oklahoma State's been embarrassed the last couple weeks. But, these are legitimate teams. I think TCU wins this football game. I'm going to come right back here when the score says 42-38 TCU. And I'm going to point this out. Horns down.
All right. Anyone else have to say anything on this game?
No, I'm good.
All right. And then the last scheduled game to talk about before we kind of go into our own rambling about maybe what game we want to talk about, or maybe some like bottom of the conferences teams we could talk about, like Michigan State versus Rutgers, blah, 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 blah. We got, speaking of Big Ten teams, we got Penn State versus Maryland. Maryland just took an embarrassing loss to Wisconsin. That game, obviously, ruined by the weather. Take it with a grain of salt. Maryland's a very pass-heavy team with Talia Tagovailoa. And then Penn State, who just had a great bounce-back win against Indiana, Washington, Singleton, Katron Allen, and Sean Clifford were able to get this Penn State team going in the right direction after that loss to Ohio State. Anyone got anything to say on this game?
Yeah. I think that, Maryland, their defense, they're letting up quite a bit of points in each game, and they're kind of struggling with that. But I look back to, week 4 when they played Michigan, and, that was a close game, only losing by a score. And I think that when it comes to big games and big teams like that, Maryland, has a chance. So I think for some reason I'm seeing that. I think Maryland might be able to pull this one out. Unfortunately, that game last week was tough. And, Penn State secondary is pretty good. But if Maryland can get rolling with Tagovailoa and start hitting those guys downfield and get that pass game reopened again, I think they have a chance to take this taking the Nittany Lions down this week, and it should be a good game for sure.
I'm kind of right with you there. I think if Maryland can kind of get their passing attack going, obviously Joey Porter Jr., who's like the standout defensive back on this Penn State team's been awesome this season. I don't know. I think Penn State against good teams is kind of a fraud offensively. I mean, against the Ohio State game, they literally had Parker Washington pick up everything. Other than that, they weren't able to really do anything. Weren't able to run the ball greatly. Katron Allen and Singleton, I get it that they're really young, and this offensive line's not the greatest, but I feel like Maryland, if their pass coverage against that Michigan team, when I watched that game live a very long time ago, they literally let that JJ McCarthy, I remember one play had 10 seconds to throw, and then finally just said, fuck it, I'm going to go out and just scramble for 20 yards. So I don't know. This game could be really good. I kind of wanted to pick it because Maryland, I feel like they're looking for a bounce back win, and Penn State has a great win against Indiana and are looking to have continued success. Logan or Nevan, do you want to say anything?
Yeah,
Nev, go ahead.
I think that Penn State. I think first off, I think this will be a great game, just like both of you have said. Jax, I agree with a lot of the points you made. But I also think that the way Penn State lost, what was that, 2 weeks ago? Yeah, 2 weeks ago to Ohio State. I think that was a tough loss, and I don't think Penn State wants to experience something like that again this season. Hence why I'm thinking that they're going to end the season then close up to play in a meaningful bowl game. Not saying college football playoff, obviously, but I'm saying like a good tier bowl game. And I think this will be the second step of them ending the regular season 4-0. So I got the Penn State Nittany Lions in this one, but I think Tagovailoa could keep it interesting for a while.
And Logan, you want to finish us off on this game?
Yeah, well, the saying is experience matters. And, the rumor is Sean Clifford just put in for his 17th season of eligibility next year. We'll see if he gets that. But ripe in season 16 here, I think Sean Clifford I think he leads the victory. And this is a Penn State team. They've been very good. If you watch the Ohio State game, they were in that. Score doesn't really reflect how close it was. You go back to the Michigan game, they were in that one too in the first half. Blake Corum ended up kind of running away with it. I think that Penn State defense got a little bit tired because their offense just couldn't find a way to stay on the field. But those are two really close losses, and I think when it comes down to it, when the birds start chirping and you look up and all you can see is just a sea of white, I think the Nittany Lions are going to pull it out at home. They're going to pull this one out against Maryland. Turn over Tagovailoa a little bit, and the really good Penn State defense, I think, is going to shine through. I'm going to say a little 3-touchdown day out of our super senior Sean Clifford. And, I think Penn State pulls this out.
He's got like the red trench coat out of all like the red shirts and everything like that. So there's that for you.
I mean, Sean Clifford's old enough to be my dad, but, he's still throwing footballs in the Big Ten. So we'll see.
Yeah. All right. We got an open field here, fellas. Anyone want to make a crazy take about a game that might happen in either Big Ten play or maybe like Clemson, Louisville, Florida State, Syracuse? The field's open, guys. If you guys want to talk about it.
I'll say something. I know Logan just made a point about how he thought Penn State was in the game against Michigan, but then Blake Corum started doing Blake Corum things. I mean, I think this week is just another step of his staircase to walk. He's walking on staircase to New York, and the final step will be, in New York, the Heisman, just like fellow teammate Aiden Hutchinson appeared in that room last year. But I think you'll see Corum hoisting that trophy this year, unlike his.
It's going to be Drake May.
But I think just this week against, pardon my French, but a shitty-ass Nebraska team, I think just another stepping stone for Corum to keep walking to New York.
With this Nebraska team, like Casey Thompson, their starting quarterback for the majority of this year, is out as well. The spreads jumped to 31 for Michigan now. Or it's rumored that Casey Thompson's going to be out. It's most likely, especially because it's getting to the end of the season, and he's probably going to want to transfer out.
I mean, we do know that Blake Corum is number one leading scorer, number one total touchdowns, number one rushing touchdowns, and number one first down runs. So, just taking granted, he'll rip this Nebraska team apart.
It'll either probably be.
I would hope you would be able to rip apart a team that can barely even hold their own in a Big Ten game. But I will say, I don't think there's any chance Corum's hosting that trophy at the end of the year. I'll put my Michigan bias aside and just say the Heisman's such an unbelievable quarterback award now. It's kind of ridiculous.
It's basically turned into the O'Brien.
I mean, it's basically the NFL MVP. Like, I think Aiden Hutchinson was there kind of as a kind of attaboy, like, hey, you were the best defensive player in the nation, but
Anderson should have been there.
That's about it. And I don't think anybody actually thought, maybe some biased Michigan fans, but I don't think anybody else actually thought Aiden Hutchinson had a true shot to win the Heisman last year. Not even because
he took second, so someone did.
Yeah, but did you actually think they were going to give him the award over Bryce Young?
Because he took second, so
I mean, he had about as good of a season as you possibly could from a defensive player, and he still didn't win the award. I'm just saying, I don't think that there's any way a non-quarterback's going to win this award. Hey, if Blake Corum wins it this year, I'll eat my words. But you kind of saw it with Kenneth Walker last year. Had a bad game against Ohio State, completely took him out of it. That's kind of the game there, I think, for Blake Corum in Michigan. I think if Michigan loses to Ohio State, you can just cross off Blake Corum's name. He's not winning it. There's definitely a case for him if they do win that football game, even if they don't. But I just think of such a quarterback-heavy award, I would be surprised if it went somewhere else.
Agreeable there. Honestly, the only other game that maybe I want to put some spotlight on is this North Carolina Wake Forest game. As you mentioned, North Carolina is kind of been under the radar, even though they're 8-1 and have players like Downs and May that have been able to put this team in a good position. They probably will win their side of the ACC, but they got to get through Wake Forest this week. Wake Forest, according to Vegas, is favored by 4, but I don't know. Ever since that Louisville game, I've been really skeptical of this Wake Forest team on a 2-game losing streak after losing to NC State and Raleigh. I don't know. I'm not a big fan of Sam Hartman after that one game he had against Louisville, and it looks like A.T. Perry's production slowed down a little bit too. I really want Drake May to win the Heisman. He's kind of like my vote too, because without Drake May, that North Carolina team might not even be 500. They would be nowhere without him. So that's my opinion on that. Anyone else got to say anything about either team?
Yeah, I think North Carolina will win this one.
Yeah, I'm gonna kind of keep it brief. I think North Carolina wins this game, but very interesting. Duke May is not only their leading passer, he's also Drake May, my mistake. Not only their leading passer, he is their leading rusher as well. Very interesting for North Carolina. I think he has a Heisman stake. Probably C.J. Stroud still the front runner there, but yeah, we'll see.
Any take from you, Jackson?
On this game?
Yeah, or just any game really. I mean, it's an open field right now. If you want to talk about a certain team,
you know, the one I've been seeing here is we got Kansas State and Baylor this week, and you know, they're both at 6-3, and I think that's going to be a crucial one there. You know, because K-State, they're having a pretty good year, and Martinez is taking them, and I'd really like to see, I love seeing Cade Warner out there. That's awesome to see, him playing out there, and they're on a roll. And I think that this game against Baylor is going to be a tough one, because they're both competing for that next move forward. So, yeah, battle of the 6-3, and I think it's going to be Kansas State's traveling there, and we'll see what they do on the road, but. I hope the Wildcats can come out and get another win this season.
Yeah, completely agree there. Two pretty good Big 12 teams. Kansas State obviously being ranked a little bit higher than Baylor, but Baylor is not a joke this year. Baylor just took that win to Oklahoma last week, and I mean, Oklahoma's not a bad team. Obviously, the record's not the greatest. They obviously are still a pretty good team, so. I don't know.
Yeah.
Games in Waco kind of can go either way. Both teams pretty good. I would take Kansas State in this game, but that is just my personal opinion.
Yep.
Anyone else have anything to talk about?
I'm good.
I'm good too. Well, actually, I'm not good yet. I will say, shout out to my Spartans. They're going to win this week, knocking down Rutgers, and they're going to make themselves one game away from being bowl eligible. Something that kind of sounded crazy a few weeks ago here.
I like that, Bird. I like that.
Yeah, I like the confidence. They do have Indiana and Rutgers, which are both winnable games for them. One thing I will say is I think Louisville could upset Clemson this week. That is for sure. This Clemson team.
Is it even an upset? Clemson's not a good football team. I think, who was it? Was it Clay and Sarge when they were on here on Tuesday?
Yeah.
I know they both had a lot to say about Clemson, and man, shout out to them. They hit the nail on the head. Clemson sucks. DJ Ugala, whatever his name is not a good quarterback. I think they need to make a quarterback switch, and even though Clemson's at one loss, it feels like they couldn't be farther away from the college football playoff.
Completely agree there. Malik Cunningham going to have like 6 total touchdowns that game. Just going to make the Clemson defense look a little silly. All right, are we all done here, guys?
Yeah, I'm all good.
Good, man. It was a pleasure coming on today.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, thanks for having us on.
Jackson, you will definitely be back again. Logan and Nevan, they're going to always be around here, whether they want to show up or not. Thank you guys for listening to today's episode. I felt like there was a little bit of arguing, a little bit of agreements, definitely a little bit more controversy than last week within each other on our takes.
Yeah, all I got to say, go Oregon, go TCU. Hopefully Michigan loses to Nebraska somehow. We'll see you boys next week. Horns down.
All right. The reaction pod's probably gonna either be on early or afternoon Sunday or come out Monday. So I don't know when you boys will be available, but we'll discuss it out of the show. Thank you guys for watching the podcast, and yeah, nothing much else to say. Yeah, it's just the end.